hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Puck It with Joe.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome into Puck It with Joe here on YouTube. It is Monday, October 27th. Hard to believe this month is flying by so fast. Now, after a really solid day out there on the ice yesterday, Calgary finally getting us that win, you guys. We have only 2 games on deck today, but don't worry, tomorrow is going to be completely loaded out there on the ice. So we're going to jump into these 2 games. Tomorrow's show will be at that scheduled time. Just trying to play around with these times here to see if we're able to get more live viewers at certain times. So tomorrow's show, make sure you do join me at 1 p.m. Eastern for a full Puck It with show going over every single game on the slate. Now we're going to go over these 2 games today. Like I said, it is a small slate today with these 2 games out there, but still plenty of opportunities to make some money. We're the St. Louis Blues first versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, the St. Louis Blues are minus 113 on the money line. The Pittsburgh Penguins are minus 106. And you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, Tristan Jarry has been confirmed between the pipes. When we look at Tristan Jarry and his save percentage, he's got a 252 goals against average and 921 save percentage. Joel Hofer will be in between the pipes there for the St. Louis Blues. When we look at Joel Hofer, he just has not had a great start with a 6.21 goals against average and a 789 save percentage. That being said, can he step it up? I do think he'll be able to step it up. In the game versus Utah, we did see 3 goals on only 9 shots on goal. Actually, 3 goals on 6 shots. So he is a better goaltender than we have seen versus Chicago. 7 goals allowed on 22 shots on goal. So you look at Joel Hofer, he needs to get back into form. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins are a scary team. We know the Pittsburgh Penguins have been playing nice and strong out there. They're coming off a loss after rolling so hot. And I do think this is an opportunity for the Penguins to get a win. Now, we do have a couple of players out of the lineup for both of these teams. Raquel is out of the lineup, who's on the top line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we're going to look at those lines and see who has shifted into that position out on the IR with his hand. He's the right wing of the top line. And then Robert Thomas out of the lineup here for the St. Louis Blues. That is huge for the St. Louis Blues without Thomas in the lineup. So we're going to look at some of those lines and look where we can make some money. So good afternoon, Kev. Thank you for joining me here. Yeah, if you guys hit that like, subscribe, and share button, I would so greatly appreciate it. So looking at the lines over here, let's see if we can get this all shared and shared nicely without getting these ads up, you guys. I'm going to just pull this up. Just bear with me 1 second while I try to get these going for you guys. First, we're going to look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. So looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins here, we got this. The line combos out there for them. We're looking at that top line. So this is where Raquel used to be. We used to see Raquel in the position here. We're now seeing Rust on the right wing, Crosby centering, and a Philip Hollander sitting here on the left wing. Hollander moving up into that top line. That top line has been producing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're going to look at his points. We've got Malkin here centering the second with Mantha on the left. I do think those are 2 players you want to circle as well. And looking at that top power play. So we don't have Holland on the top power play, but we still will see Sidney Crosby, Rust on that top with Malkin here on the top power play unit. So looking at some power play props here, looking at some props as a whole, we're going to just quickly have a look at the point props that we can see for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I do think Sidney Crosby is where you want to go for that anytime goal. Sidney Crosby coming in for the anytime goal. I think I got it right around that plus 175, you guys. But let's look at some player points because I do think those points are coming in. Putting moving those lines on the top. Holloway, okay, so that is for the St. Louis Blues. We are not seeing that player listed. So let's just look at goals now that they have moved around those lines, if we can get goals for him out there. So Philip Hollander coming in for the anytime goal at plus 525. I do think he's going to be pass first, and I do think we're going to see Sidney Crosby be able to convert off an assist by him. But I don't think it's a bad price there for Hollander's anytime goal. Again, moved up to that top line with Sidney Crosby and Russ. So I do think worth a look. But I'm going to look at Sidney Crosby here for the anytime goal. He's coming in at plus 170. He is the playmaker that I think is going to be impactful in this one. Sidney Crosby has been off to a hot start, and the Blues have allowed 13 goals over the last 2 games. So I do think this is an opportunity to really jump on some of these players here for the Pittsburgh Penguins to be impactful. Now, looking at the goaltending matchup, you would expect the Pittsburgh Penguins to be able to go over their team total, and that's where I have to go. Now, I know Joe Hofer will look stronger in this game. I think this is an opportunity for them to jump on him fast and then for him to settle down a little bit. So looking at that first period, I do like the Pittsburgh Penguins to come out nice and strong in the first period. I do think we can see the St. Louis Blues with their shifting of lines be able to get something done as well. But I would look at the Pittsburgh Penguins total goals over 3.5 goals. If you think they can get 4. In this one makes sense. It's coming in at plus 150, and that is where I'll go. Plus 150 over the 3.5 goals. And Richie P, it was great. It's great to see you here today. Mantha for the anytime goal. You're going to get tons of plus money on Mantha for that anytime goal. I like where you're going with that one. So I'm going to take the over 3.5 here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm also going to look at this one to go for Sidney Crosby for that anytime goal. Then when we look here at the St. Louis Blues. Now, I do think the St. Louis Blues have every opportunity to put a couple in the back of the net. You're seeing that shifting on the lines with Raquel being out. You are seeing Snuggerug up on that top line on the right wing. We're seeing centering the second line, Brayden Schenn, Jordan Kyrou on the right with Matthew Joseph on the left. I do think the second line is definitely where you want to look. That's getting the production out of the St. Louis Blues. Dylan Holloway is down on that third line. So I would look at Brayden Schenn, Jordan Kyrou to be able to get those points. I think Matthew Joseph is another strong look as he has been bumped up to that second line with Robert Thomas out of the lineup. So lots of moving pieces out there for the St. Louis Blues as of late. You look at that top power play unit, you've got Jordan Kyrou, Holloway, Snuggerug. I think those would be great players to look at for those power play goals. So looking at the St. Louis Blues, I don't want to take anything here for them for their team total. I do think they probably net a couple of goals, but what I like best is the Pittsburgh Penguins over 3.5 goals in this game. I just think Joe Hofer, no matter what, is going to allow 4 goals in this one. So if you want to look at the over 6.5, it's coming in at plus 114. It's minus 140 to the under. So too juicy to that under, you guys. High scoring games today. I'm shocked with the next game. The Ottawa Senators at home are a minus 170 favorite, minus 1.5 on the puck line at plus 142, total 5.5. It's minus 134 to the over 5.5. I expected this to be a 6.5 here. I do think we have a strong game for the Ottawa Senators. So looking at the Ottawa Senators here at home, I do think they're going to be able to do damage on Swayman. The Boston Bruins have been a tricky team. So the Boston Bruins came out so strong to start the season. Then they fell off. They got a win out there in their last game, but I don't believe in this team. Pasta has been great. There's no denying it. Mark and Geeky Pasta are your playmakers out there for the Boston Bruins. But when we look at Swayman here, Swayman between the pipes has a .910 save percentage, a 2.85 goals against average. And then we got Levi. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. I always screw it up. In net for the Ottawa Senators. Now, he doesn't have good numbers. He's played one game as .731 save percentage. Here, you guys, in that one game, it was versus the Buffalo Sabres. He allowed 7 goals on 26 shots on net. So poor performance out of him. He is better than his numbers do suggest out here. We did see him last season play in 12 games In 12 games, he had 22 goals against him. So better numbers than what we're seeing so far, right? But still not fantastic numbers. I think Boston will be able to score a couple. This is why it's kind of shocking with this total only sitting at 5.5. I would look at the Ottawa Senators to light things up. And I do think there's a couple of things that we can do with the Ottawa Senators. Firstly, I'll take the Senators team total to the over. I'm then going to look, and that's going to be, I believe a 3.5 is great plus money. I can't remember what it was this morning. Let's just look at the Senators on the puck line. I think the Senators win this and they win it big. I would lay the 1.5 with the Ottawa Senators. That is coming in at plus 140. So puck line here for the Ottawa Senators for me. If you like them puck line first period, I like them puck line first period as well. I would look here at David Pastrnak for those points for the Boston Bruins. If someone's getting them, it is Pasta. But I love Tim Struzal and Batherson and Jake Sanderson here and Shane Pinto. Those are the 4 playmakers I really want to circle for the Ottawa Senators. I think multiple goals are coming. Now, we know the defense here has struggled with the Ottawa Senators. So if you look at Pasta, if you look at him for 2+ points, I don't hate it. 2+ points for Pasta, plus 162. But I think you're better off looking at Tim Struzal, Drake Batherson, Shane Pinto, and Jake Sanderson to come out nice and strong and be able to get those points on the board. When we look at parlaying, the Ottawa Senators puck line, Tim Struzal, Drake Batherson, Jake Sanderson, and Shane Pinto all for a point. With that puck line, it's coming in at plus 549. If we take out that puck line and we just do Tim Struzal, Batherson, Sanderson, and Pinto all for a point today, it's plus 362. And that will be my 4-leg parlay of the day. I think we're going to get those points out of those top lines there for the Ottawa Senators. So just to review those top lines with you guys so you can see them in front of you. Pulling them up, just give me 1 second here. I just don't trust Swayman, and I don't trust the defense here. So looking at the top lines, we do have Struzal and Batherson together on that top line. You're looking at Shane Pinto on the 3rd line here. Now, Jake Sanderson, defenseman, out here, he is on that top defensive pairing, and that top power play unit is Drake Batherson, is Jake Sanderson, Tim Struzal, and Dylan Cousins and Riley Gregg. We will have Shane Pinto on that second power play unit. So he's kind of like the loose cannon here because he's just not on that power play with the other guys. But I still think there's going to be multiple opportunities for scoring in this game on Swayman. And I like all 4 of them to get it. Yeah, Pinto for over 2.5 shots on goal. Great way to go. Pittsburgh money line and Crosby anytime goal. Absolutely. I think the Penguins win and Sidney Crosby gets that goal. And yeah, if you're looking at Pasta for 2+ points, always look at Morgan Geekie as well. Morgan Geekie has been so impactful on the season. So last 7 Boston games, gift. What is gift? GIFT. Gift has hit abbreviation of something. Last 7 Boston games. Okay. Let me know, Vegas Vixen, what you are meaning there. It might be taking me just a hot minute to work it out. I like the props on both games. Yeah, we'll look at some props. There's lots of opportunities to jump in on some props. I do think these are higher scoring games out there. Pinto, you got to love his anytime goals. That is for sure. Those are great plays. I love where you guys are going. So it's going to be a great day on the ice. I think we got a ton of goals. I don't see either of these games really being slow. Now, the one thing to look at tomorrow is the crazy day out there on the ice, the Frozen Frenzy. So the Penguins are facing the Flyers, 6 p.m. Eastern. They will be out there on the road. So that is kind of a look ahead for the crazy day tomorrow. The St. Louis Blues, who are they playing again? The St. Louis will be at home versus the Detroit Red Wings. Pretty big games ahead of these teams. And then when we look at Boston and Ottawa, Boston will be at home versus the New York Islanders. Even more reason to bet the Senators tonight, you guys. The Senators will be on the road versus the Chicago Blackhawks. So big games on deck with tomorrow's full slate schedule. But I feel pretty confident here that we can get the Ottawa Senators laying 1.5 at plus 142. I also feel pretty confident that the Pittsburgh Penguins at home can get a nice win here today versus the St. Louis Blues. I know St. Louis is a solid team, but I don't trust Joel Hofer between the pipes with what Pittsburgh has been doing as of late. So it should be a good one. You're bummed you tried to parlay Batherson, Cozen power play points. Yeah, they won't allow you to parlay those power play points, which is very disappointing to see. Goal in the first 10 minutes. Goal in the first 10 minutes. That totally makes sense for the gift that you were saying. Yeah, the goal in the first 10 minutes. I think we see Ottawa come straight out of the gate. Now, I don't hate both teams to score in the over 1.5 in the first period between the Boston Bruins and the Ottawa Senators, because you do see the ability for that to happen in this game. We're able to get a couple games with the both teams to score in the over 1.5 in the first period yesterday, so it made us some money. But you guys, that is it for Pocket with Joe today. I appreciate each and every single one of you being here. So recap time: Pittsburgh, give me the Pittsburgh Penguins minus 106 straight up on the money line. I do expect that one to be a higher scoring game. I look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, though, team total over the 3.5. Look for in this game the playmaker Sidney Crosby for the anytime goal is where I would love to go. But I do think the goals are coming in on both sides. I think the over 6.5 is a nice price at plus 114. The over, it makes sense. Now, we just did see the fire up of the Bruins and the Senators game from 5.5 to 6.5. Really surprising it was 5.5 for a hot minute here, you guys. I look at the Senators team total over 3.5. I would look at Tim Struzal, Drake Batherson, Jake Sanderson, and Shane Pinto for their points. Again, four of them parlayed together at plus 348. And then the Ottawa Senators to win this, cover that puck line, laying 1.5 at plus 142. But you guys, let's make some freaking money. You gotta love Malkin too, out there on the ice. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Again, loaded slate tomorrow. We will be live 1 p.m. Eastern to go over each and every single one of these games in more depth, making sure you guys get everything you need. I am live with Wager Talk for your primetime preview at 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday Night Football. You guys, I'm sure we'll throw in a little bit of World Series there. So make sure you do join me over on Wager Talk. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Recap: Pitt money line over 6.5, Senators team total over as well. Yeah, it is going to be a great day. Let's make some freaking money, you guys. Until next time, stay hot, and we'll see you tomorrow.